Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com, this is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
The high cost of food today. Wow. The so-called experts say that the average food costs have increased about 12% in the past year. Stuff and nonsense, says my wife, who does the shopping. At our house, she swears up and down, the cost of feeding 3 people has shot up at least 30% in the last year, maybe more. And what's more, she's got the receipts to prove it. What's more, she assures me, we're only buying the essentials, very few, if any, snack foods, lots of fruit and vegetables. I love fruit. About the only luxury, I admit, that we provide ourselves, we do buy a lot of diet drinks. Last year, our average food bill was about $190 a week. These days, and I just find this so hard to believe, but these days, I'm informed that we're looking at close to $250 a week. That's about $1,000 a month to feed 3 people. This just seems like almost impossible to me. And I'm going to tell you that we 3 people do not eat a lot. As any heart patient can tell you, I don't have very much of an appetite. I'm not a big eater. Debbie pretty well survives on crackers and cheese. My sister-in-law, who lives with us, not a big eater. So $225 to $250 a week for groceries. For an average family of 3, you know what? It makes you wonder how people with teenagers can survive these days.
I'm getting a sense of that right now since our niece moved in on Labor Day weekend because they eat an insane. I've never seen anything like it.
My grandson, who admittedly is a very good athlete, works out every day. I swear to God, he eats at least twice, maybe 3 times as much as I do.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I will, if we get a pizza, I will have 1 piece. That'll do me the whole day. Peyton will eat the whole damn pizza and then want more.
Yeah.
So I just don't know how the average family, particularly with children and particularly with teenagers, I'm not sure how they're making out these days. What about you? What's going on in your house? I'm talking to my listeners now. You say your experience since you've got your niece. Have you checked the food bills? How they're escalating?
We haven't. That's kind of Sue's away right now. So as soon as she's back, we're going to sit down and do that because she's been doing the grocery shopping of late. But I mean, yeah, it's skyrocketed without a doubt. And I mean, this teenager, everything is Starbucks and Harvey's and takeout. And I mean, they don't, doesn't even want to cook at home. So I can just imagine what the food bill is by the time we add all of that in. It's no way.
Well,
we did chicken takeout last. We did chicken takeout last night. It was $45 for chicken takeout.
This is one area where we've cut back. I mean, Debbie is shopping much more carefully. Debbie can't stand to go to Costco. It's just too crowded, too noisy, etc. So,
amen.
She shops at a local IGA, looks for bargains and so forth. But she said, in particular, like when I'm requesting, I love melon, I love fresh fruit, strawberries, and she just looks at when I say, honey, you got to get me some more fresh fruit. She looks at me and shakes her head. She says, do you have any idea what it costs? But I got to have fresh fruit. But she says that in many cases, the cost of fresh fruits probably increased close to 50% in the last year. So what's the experience of the viewers and listeners out there? Debbie says the cost of feeding this little family of 3 has gone up at least 30% in the past year. Does that sound familiar? Does it sound excessive? Do you think you're spending more than that? How are you making out, particularly those of you with teenagers in the house? Have you changed, folks? Have you changed your shopping habits because of the high cost? Have you cut out any food? One thing that helps drive up the cost of food is I say that I do eat a lot of fruit, but compensating that, and now don't gag here, John. I know that, but
No, not that.
one of my favorite meats is liver. I love liver,
Ah,
and the
lol.
cost, not yours, right?
Blah.
The cost of liver, it's one of the least expensive of all of the meats out there. I love liver and sauerkraut. My
Well, I may have to learn to like it in that case.
so, but I mean, to think there's just three people, not big eaters, none of us. $1,000 a month for food. I don't know how people are. I just don't know how people with larger families are doing it. And yet, one of the other thing that we've really cut back is we used to go out for dinner, maybe once, twice a week. Now we probably go once, twice a month.
Like I said, takeout chicken, $43 for 2 people last
Wow,
night.
wow.
I know.
So, folks, do you think that Debbie's figures of a 30% increase in the past year is fairly accurate? Would you say that that's your experience? Have your food costs gone up that much? And this question: Trudeau increases taxes very shortly. Carbon tax, he's going to triple on January 1st. This is further going to add to the cost of everything, including, of course, food and heating oil and gas. And in that regard, I mean, not only are we pouring out about $1,000 a month for food, but I'm going to tell you, our natural gas bill has shot up more than 20% in the past 2 months, even though the usage was down. Enbridge has increased the rates about 40%, for God's sake. And a chunk of that is the carbon tax. And like, folks, where is this all going to end? At what point is even families with two well-paid jobs, they just can't afford to put food on the table anymore? How far can we go? If in fact food is increased 30% in a year, can you afford another 30% in another year? So that like in 2 years' time the cost of food doubles? So would you be able to survive? I don't know where it's going to end, folks. I don't know where it's going to end. Trudeau giving us another shot of taxes very soon. God, I just shake my head. As I say, we're three people here, small eaters, but God help you if you've got a teenager or two or three in the house. How in the hell do you do it? John, any response to this point? Striking a chord here or what?
Yep. Huge response. We've got a phone call too. Jace is in at 613-413-2217. Jace, give him hell. Go ahead.
Jace, we haven't heard from you. Haven't heard from you in a long time. You been all right?
Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm doing fine. Lowell, about the 30%, I just want to hit on that. I think Debbie's numbers are pretty accurate. I think 30% is about dead bang on for the increase in groceries.
Do you?
The only thing we've been able to do is we've had to cut down on our proteins.
On your which? I'm sorry?
Now per meal.
I'm sorry, you cut down on what, Jason?
We cut down on protein. So the amount of chicken or beef or pork per meal, like we've cut down the quantities. But I've got some good news, Lowell.
What's that?
I just want to take a quick moment to tell you a story. A couple of years ago, the Liberal Party sent out mass emails, asking people if they wanted to enter a contest where they could get flown to Ottawa and have a one-on-one with Justin Trudeau.
Right.
And I thought that would be a fantastic thing. I thought there would be nothing better in my life than to spend an hour telling Trudeau what I really, really thought. And so I entered the contest, and unfortunately, I didn't win. However, they've since put me onto a Liberal mailing list, so I get these regular email updates. Now, I got to tell you, I thought Chrystia Freeland couldn't get more annoying until I actually started getting emails from her. And then the Liberal Party really does outdo themselves. But Thanksgiving is just around the corner. It's this weekend, and I've got great news. They sent out an email specifically for Thanksgiving weekend, Lowell.
Yes.
The title of the email is Turkey Talk Toolkit.
Okay.
And The idea is that they've got some talking points. So if you get around the Thanksgiving table and you start debating with your brother-in-law, these are the liberal talking points that you get to use.
Okay.
But the name of the toolkit really struck me as probably the most realistic thing the liberals have come out with in the last several years. The Turkey Talk Toolkit. We've been listening to this Turkey Talk for 5 or 6 years now, and I'm glad that we finally have a toolkit to undo or at least translate what this turkey's been trying to tell us.
Well, does it include a screwdriver? Because we're getting screwed.
No, it's more of an ice auger, Lowell. A screwdriver's just not quite big enough for what we're getting right now.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for the call, Jace. Good call. Great to talk to you. Great to talk to you. John, what else have we got here? Tom Toomey, my old buddy and neighbor Tom Toomey is responding here.
Yeah, he says the government says food prices increased by 8 to 9%. Really? Where do they get their numbers? Debbie's figures are quite accurate, he says.
Okay. I thought, I must tell you, when I told Debbie that I was going to use her figures, she said, "Oh my goodness, I hope that I'm right here. Yeah, I hope you don't get a lot of bad feedback." But you know what? She's got the receipts, believe it or not, some of them. And from what I could see, she seems fairly accurate. I'm talking about overall. I mean, some things have increased more, some things increased very little. But overall, the food bill for our home in 1 year, 3 people, not big eaters, has gone from about $190 a week to close to $250 a week. That's just a fact of life. Go ahead, John. What else have we got?
Listen, I will take Debbie's numbers over the government's numbers any day of the week.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the government numbers come from. How do they determine those figures? God only knows.
Robert does not bother Trudeau because he is eating the best on the taxpayer, and says you'll notice it more if you track the cost of certain items, what they would have cost a year ago or 2 years ago and what they cost now. But the ordinary food prices going up is just made worse by milk, eggs, butter having gone up so much because of supply management increases. Dairy foods are so important for growing kids and teenagers.
Excuse me. You see, that is absolutely wrong. That is the kind of bullshit that we get from uninformed people. I'm sorry. The fact of the matter is, what's the most expensive product on the market today? I think most people would say beef, right? Is there a beef marketing board? No. What is one of the most least expensive foods on the market today? Poultry, chicken. Is there a poultry marketing board? Yes, there is. To me, there's the evidence right there. This idea that the cost of milk has not increased nearly as much, for example, as the cost of many other products. How about fresh fruit or cereals or items of that nature? This idea that no, beef. There is not a marketing board for beef. It's the item of one item. Hardly anybody. We can't afford beef anymore here. There's no marketing board. What we're eating, and I think a lot of people, John, I don't know if you agree or not, we're eating a lot more chicken. Why? Well, it's probably, when it comes to protein, probably the cheapest. Well, there's a chicken marketing board. There's a poultry marketing board, folks. So they help to keep the price down. Go ahead, John, please.
I've seen a lot of people complaining about the cost of milk, but again, I'm not the one shopping. Hazel says, just home, 1 bag brown sugar, tin ginger for pumpkin pie, $41 at Metro.
How about potatoes? The cost of potatoes. They tell me the cost of potatoes have almost doubled in the last year. There's
I believe it.
There's no marketing board for potatoes, folks. Go ahead.
613-413-2217. The cost of food is the topic. Have you seen it rising? Debbie says 30%. The government says 8 to 9%. What say you? 613-413-2217. This person says, if I want meat, I go after 6 p.m. when the local store puts a sticker on it. 50% off to eat tonight for packages they have to sell today. Some things, says Peter, are same price. Breads are $1 to $2 up. Cheese has 2 to 3 pieces less in a package for $1 more. Lori says, I buy frozen fruit. It's much, much cheaper. Let's go to email, lowell@blasttheradio.com. Jamie, thanks for chiming in. Appreciate it.
Can you just stop me there for a moment?
Yeah, of course, Lowell.
Frozen food. What?
Frozen fruit.
What are you talking? You can't freeze apples. You can't freeze bananas. You can't.
Sure, you can.
What?
Frozen bananas. So I'm an ice cream fanatic. Look at me.
Yeah.
I love ice cream. It's my kryptonite. And I have switched over to what is called Yonanis, and it is banana based. So you freeze the bananas, and that
Yeah.
becomes the gooey base of
Okay.
frozen, and you add in frozen blueberries, frozen raspberries, frozen strawberries, etc., and you make that mix. A lot of people freeze fruit.
Yeah, so why would frozen food be be less expensive than fresh? I
Now,
find
now that I don't have an answer for you,
okay. All right.
but I do know that there are certain fruits that absolutely you can freeze. All right, Joshua says this is not just a Canadian issue. Read in an article in U.S. publication that across the board, food at home prices climbed 13.5% from August 2021 to August 2022.
Let me tell you something. No matter what's happened in the United States, food is a hell of a lot cheaper there. Not if you're using Canadian dollars, but if you're an American using American dollars, food's a hell of a lot cheaper there than it is here. Believe me. Go ahead.
Lori says, "Lowell, freezing bananas, they're delicious."
Okay, I don't want to get into a debate. I wasn't aware of that.
Fair enough. 613-413-2217. We are getting a pile of comments today. Lowell, of course, the grocery prices have gone up, this person says. I also hate that the package sizes are reduced. Even in fast food, the Whopper patty is smaller and Wendy's patty is thinner. As for Jace cutting down on the proteins, what are we supposed to do? Eat insects? No, thank you. As for the Liberals' carbon tax increase, they are going to be the end of us. All right, let's go to Peter. Food prices go up on everything in the past few years thanks to the carbon tax. You got tiny fees like for bags, have been cutting down on extras, literally watching every single dollar.
Paul, well, I'd like to know, one of the things that I'd like to know, Deb, that as far as she can see, the real increased cost of food in a year is about 30%. I'm just wondering if you agree with that, if you think that's excessive, or in your case, that's probably not as much. And I'd also like to talk to some parents of grandchildren. How in the hell are you affording to feed?
Oh, seems Lowell's frozen there. Hopefully we get Lowell back. 613-413-2217. I will carry on reading some of your comments, even though it appears that Lowell cannot hear us. All right, so Peter is in with a text here moments ago. He says, remember who was prime minister the last time we had inflation at 10% plus? Trudeau Sr. Apples do not fall far from the tree. Way to go, Justin, says Clifford on Facebook. Again, we are on Facebook.com/The Lowell Green, Facebook.com/Milkman Show, and Facebook.com/Blast the Radio. Peter says, Debbie is 100% right to answer the question. Happy Thanksgiving, and happy Thanksgiving to you too, Peter, as well. Leanne, the fruit froze him. She's laughing. That's her dad. So, okay. I hope your dad's laughing when he gets back. Leanne, he typically doesn't. Oh, and he has disappeared. Richard says, an increase in eggs, 38%. Flour, 22.7%. Chicken, 17.6%. Milk, 15.6%. Bacon, 9.2%. With fruits and vegetables at around 9.3%. Richard, I don't know where you're getting your numbers from. Maybe let us know if that's your own grocery bill or if that's just something you read somewhere. Anne says, forget frozen bananas, frozen Lowell Green. Yeah, I guess we kind of jinxed it talking about things freezing. You're right, guys. Kim says, I believe it's the stores that are taking full advantage of the situation and are gouging us to the hill. All right, let's go to email. I promised Jamie that I would get his email read, and I didn't get a chance to do that. He says, I think we should all go eat at Sophie's house. Sophie is in the Prime Minister's wife. Jamie adds, I shop at Walmart to try and save money, but find it's still expensive, $250 a week for three. So that's what Lowell was saying. His food costs are $250 a week for three. Plus, gas prices to drive there doesn't help. Probably well over 30% increase, to be honest. Yeah, the cost of gas, we've gone from $1.42 to like $1.68 in like the span of 24, 36 hours. Did I miss a memo somewhere? What's causing that? And this is, pre next carbon tax increase. All right, looks like Lowell is on his way back in. Lowell, I've just been reading a whole bunch of the comments, but we're glad you're back.
Yeah, what happened? What happened?
I don't know. My favorite line comes from Ann. She says, forget frozen bananas, frozen Lowell Green. Something just happened. Let's get a word in here for Shields. You're just on back to do the commercial.
All right. Yes, Shields. Now, if you're spending a whole lot more money on food and heating oil, etc., etc. Check out Shields if you're in the market for appliances. And by the way, a lot of these new modern appliances, as you probably know, consume less power. And particularly now, there's less power, so you can save some. Many of the appliances have gone up in price as of January 1st, right across the board. But at the very least, they will save you money in the long run because they consume less power. And Shields has a full inventory of all of those brand new appliances, all the major brands, all of the different colors, sizes, etc., etc. It's all there and in stock. 90% of what you want is in stock, which means can be in your house very shortly. Yes, they have very good finance plans. Check them out, folks. Shields.ca, SCHEELS.ca. Go ahead, John.
All right. Now that you are back, we can continue on with, let's go to text, 613-413-2217. To answer Lowell's question, yes, 30% is a good average of all the things combined.
Okay.
Here's another person says, I live alone and my groceries are up an average of $25 to $30 per week and I eat less. Happy Thanksgiving to you both. Donna from Blossom Park. Donna, you would be my neighbor. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Good to hear from you. Let's go to Darlene on Facebook. Unfortunately, because I prefer to stay away from big box stores. I think that's a follow-up. Oh, yes. She says, yes, I also think retail is taking advantage. Big box stores are not so bad, unfortunately, because I prefer to stay away from big box stores. There you go. There's the rest of it. She put it in two pieces. Confusing me. Andrea says prices in the States are up as well. Andrea is in the States, by the way. She's in Rome, New York. She says quite a bit, in fact, but we are lucky to pay less than you do in Canada.
Oh, yeah. The food is considerably cheaper. Most items considerably cheaper in the United States than it is here. And one of the reasons is the taxes that are applied. People say, well, food's not taxed. Yeah, but the carbon tax and there are other taxes applied to every step of the way. I mean, the poor old farmer, he's got to put fertilizer on. It's taxed. If he's got grain, he's got to dry the grain. The propane he uses is taxed. The machinery that he buys is taxed. The trucking that trucks it to the store is taxed. The store that has to provide electricity is taxed. I mean, people forget. I mean, there's tax at every step. When you buy a food in the store, there may not be tax there, but there's tax all the way down. In all probability, the average cost of food probably, if you've totaled up all of the taxes paid, probably about half the cost of food is taxes. Go ahead, John.
Here's an interesting comment on YouTube. We'll put it back on the screen again from Mims. I'll be very honest, Mims says, I have a solid income, just over $100,000 per year, and I'm living from paycheck to paycheck, being a house owner and all. If I'm living check to check, how are people on minimum wage surviving?
Well, many of them are now ending up at the food banks. One of the problems is the food banks are having difficulty. I mean, people, if you can't afford to put food on your table, you're not going to be providing food for other people.
Right.
So the food banks are having difficulty. But one of my questions is, this thing is continual. It's not as if this was just a one shot. The cost of food and many other things continues to go up. And just wait until the carbon tax is increased again. I mean, look, the carbon tax right now on gasoline, for example, is $50 a ton. Within the next 5 or 6 years, it's going to be $170 a ton. What do you think that's going to do to the cost of everything? Good Lord, folks, we'd better wake up here. Go ahead, John.
And while you disappeared there for a moment, that's one of the things I talked about. Gas overnight, pretty much in the last 36 hours, has gone from $1.43 a liter to $1. It's almost $1.70 right now. I mean,
and don't forget, Ford has taken almost 6 cents a liter off in provincial tax.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Here's a listener comment, a listener question, pardon me, 613-413-2217. Lowell, I find pork is reasonable. Do they have a marketing board, this person?
No. There's no pork marketing board. Thank you very much. So these people who say, oh, it's the marketing boards. Wait a minute. Pork, you say, is less expensive. There's no marketing board. There's no marketing board for beef. Okay. There's no marketing. There's a marketing board for poultry, and poultry is one of the most economical of all proteins.
Crystal says,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Crystal says $7 for a box of cereal is price gouging. We are not even talking a family size box.
Okay, let me just address that. Many times I have talked to you about the fact that grain farmers have to pay carbon tax, hefty carbon tax, on the propane that's required to dry the wheat. Scott Moe, Premier of Saskatchewan, a year ago, brought some receipts to Justin Trudeau for the carbon tax for propane to dry wheat. Some of the bills were $4,000 to $5,000 a month just on tax to dry the wheat to make the cereal. So if you've got to pay $5,000 a month for tax to dry your wheat to make the cereal, what do you think that's going to do to the cost of cereal? Don't blame that on the store, folks. Don't blame that on the store. Place the blame exactly where it should be. The carbon tax. Go ahead.
Yep, cost $5,000 more than it did just to get it off my farm. Thank you.
People got to realize that. And,
Yep.
and as I say, and he's got a fertilizer. He's got to fertilize. Cost of fertilizer is almost doubled partly because of the tax. Any pesticides that he's got to put on there, et cetera, et cetera. Everything is just taxed. Go ahead.
This comment sort of kind of ties in there from Glenn. He says, what about all these scan your own checkouts? I refuse to do their job, and I always ask for a discount if I do all the work. I hear that from every single customer, Glenn. It's not funny anymore. Trust me. He says, many
of the folks, you better get used to it because, well, there's two things here. First of all, the cost of labor. And secondly, you can't find labor anymore. Nobody seems to want to work anymore.
Well, that's true.
Go ahead.
That is true. And I just posted an article today from City News out of Toronto. Loblaws is now celebrating the fact that they've got 2 driverless trucks. So there we are, celebrating the replacement of humans at every single turn. We've got a ton of comments. My goodness, Lowell, you got a weekend full of reading to do. Robert says, T-bone steak is only a dream for me now. Patricia says, I used to be able to put $10 of groceries in a bag. Now it's more like $40. Lacey Lynn, I believe this is the first time you have participated in the show. Welcome. Thanks for sharing the word, kids, because we're getting all kinds of new viewers and listeners. Lacey says, Lowell, I live alone, and I always paid between $40 to $50, and now it's $100 to $200. I've never paid that much, ever. I gave up pop, chocolate bars, cookies. I cut a lot of my groceries, what I used to buy. That's unreal.
That's almost 100%.
Yep. Carrie says, liver was our Sunday dinner staple growing up in the 50s in Norway, so no matter if it's cheaper, not going back to that. Amen, Carrie.
I love liver. Calf's liver is just, I love it. It's delicious. Delicious.
We always felt like we were being punished when we got his liver and lima beans. Dad loves it. Ugh. Bruce is filling up the screen with this comment. You can't even see us on the screen anymore. Bruce, Lowell, the people of this country who voted for him, they need to be getting their head checked. But what we must be able to do something to get this government out of governing this country. The Governor General, I'm not sure can do anything about the government. I'm just dissatisfied with this government.
Enough of that. We've dealt with this many times. Talking about the Governor General and the cost of food. I'm doing a little bit of research about, remember the $100,000 meals?
You're still on that, are you?
Some people. Well, first of all, they lied to us and said, oh, it was just regular airline food. One of the salads that was served on that flight cost $239.
Come on!
A salad. But
come on!
All the food was pre-ordered. So we have no idea who it was. They had a salad. It was like some special nuts that were in it. And, it was unbelievable. All of the stuff, special celeries and lettuces and everything. It was $200 and some odd.
Well, how hard would you have to work to find the ingredients to make a salad worth $250?
That's why it cost that much money. This was a specific order from somebody on this bloody flight from the Governor General. You wonder how you could spend $100,000, 30 or 40 people on one flight. This was money spent on the flight to Dubai, folks. It's not even the food after they got to Dubai. This was on the plane. Well, one of the meals was a salad for $200 and some odd $200.
The meal I could put in front of you right now for $250, even at inflated prices, would blow your mind.
These elites, and including the Governor General, it just drives me crazy. Here is this woman, a native woman, people back on the reserves. They don't even have fresh water. And she's with a group of people ordering $200 salads. That's the kind of arrogance that, This country, if this kind of crapola continues, this country's going to revolt. They've revolted in other countries in the past. If this kind of stuff continues, we're going to see a revolt in this country. And you know what? It may be starting now with Pierre Poilievre. It's time. It's revolt time, folks. When we've got a governor general who, at our expense, takes 30 of her closest friends to Dubai on a little nice, pleasant jaunt and orders a $200 salad. It's time for a revolution. Are you prepared to start it, John? Will you join my revolution?
Listen, if I'm starving, I will be one angry son of a bitch, and you don't want to mess with me when I'm hungry.
Okay. Well, listen, everybody have a good Thanksgiving. We'll be back next Tuesday. Thank you all.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.